all government officials to register. I mean, if they're going to ask us to register our guns and our rights, they have to register their rights. They can register their rights and their guns and their legislative ability through one kind of referendum, number one being they can limit the amount of years that they're in office. If they cannot do this, by the way, if a contract with America, by the way, is really a contract, and all the politicians, or the Republicans or Democrats or whatever you want to call them, to me that's just a label, they left one thing out of a contract. Say you buy a car, or buy a house, or buy something on time, and it's got 10 parts to the contract, and one is scratched out after you've signed the contract. By the way, it's null and void. You don't own anything. You may even be able to keep the property. By the way, the contract with America is not only illegal, but it's asking us to change the bargain. The only damn things that change the bargain are the damn outer space aliens, etc., etc., and evil people. I think we can do better than this. Now, another thing we can do is require all politicians basically to accept no PAC money of any kind and accept no money from a salary, and that all government officials be basically put on kind of like a selective service. Everybody has to serve in some part of a government structure to some degree. And it's a voluntary thing, and if you've done right, you get paid for it. And if you're not done right, then there are other ways to make sure that you will be punished accordingly. We did these kind of things if we were prudent, if we thought everything out, because I'll tell you, the only thing that doesn't need changing in any way, shape, or form are the two pieces of paper, one the Bill of Rights and one the United States Constitution. Those two thin sheets of paper have kept us from totalitarian slavery, or worse, for over 200 years. And now they're being seriously threatened by a minority few people who want to reign over us, who want to kill us off, who want to cause us great bodily harm. You realize, in my field, I couldn't even, if I saw something wrong, and I did many times, I had no way to blow the whistle. That's not what our founding fathers taught us. That's not what they laid down in sacred writing, almost sacred writing, I might want to add. We can do better. If we are really the government, if we are really the militia, then we have to stand up and we have to make ourselves known that this will not be tolerated in any way, shape, or form, and it must cease and desist. And if we are challenged, then so be it. Then we are challenged. And I guess the actions of us will be rather forthright, by judging from this crowd. I'm laying down my life by talking about secret things, that I took an oath of secrecy that said that if I broke that oath of secrecy, I am guilty of espionage. I am called a traitor by my own government for blowing the whistle. That's not only a disgrace, but it's an outrage and has ramifications on everyone in this room. And I think we can do better. Now, I've talked about a number of topics that are rather controversial. I don't think I've talked about too much about why we're being enslaved. If you remember, there's always been a nice convenient war. If it wasn't World War I, it was World War II. If it wasn't World War II, it was Korea. If it wasn't Korea, it was Vietnam. It's always been a convenient war. When we've gotten a little bit too smart, folks, there's been a war to wipe out the good people that would take over and run our country effectively. There's a lot of times, and we're going to have to face some very serious consequences very shortly. What we call patriot movements in this country are being singled out for war crimes against humanity, and I happen to think there are a few people in these groups that are crazy, but I would say they're an extreme minority. Probably less than 1/100 of 1% or 1/10,000th of the whole. Janet Reno has us believing that all of the people that are in patriot groups are responsible for inflaming the populace, for doing other crimes against humanity, like killing children, innocent children, regardless of race. The unspeakable thing that happened at Oklahoma City is a wake-up call. If we do nothing, if we decide to stuff our gut, to say, well, I don't have to do anything today, I can watch this show on TV or that show on TV. I don't have to talk about, I'll let Phil Schneider or Al Bielek or some other person talk, Bo Greitz or some other person talk about it. Let them do it. If we act this way, folks, we're not going to be around very long. If you got rights out there, you might as well start enjoying them like you've never enjoyed them before, because pretty soon we're not going to have them. We got the wonderful freedom of movement. Driving down the road, and you don't have to show your ID, but slowly that's changing. There's legislation right now in the United States Congress, and any person that has worked for the federal government has to have special identification. It's illegal. It's an outrage. And I've already drawn the line, stamped and put my foot down, and I say, enough is enough. I've had enough. And I think we can do better. I know we can do better. So I'm asking you, out of this entire group, how many 100 people there are, 150 or so? 5 of us. 5 small people gather together and start preaching the good things about America to whatever group size it is, as long as it's more than yourself. Try a group of, say, 10 or 15. I think most of us have 10 or 15 people we know, friends, whatnot. If 10 people did it in this room, we'd reach double that figure. We'd reach 20 million or more countrywide. What do we have to do? We have to stockpile weapons and all these other kinds of things. Trouble is with revolutions, they always end up killing the wrong people. Unfortunately, it's starting to look like that might have to be the only scenario to get these parasites off our back. And I'm telling you folks, they are parasites of the first water. They're only out for their own self-gain. And by they, I'm talking about your government officials. Not all of them. There are some that are good. There are some that are honest. There are some that are forthright, that love God, that love the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and other wonderful works by our founding fathers. But they're few and far between. In the House of Representatives in the United States Senate, there is not one politician that is not an attorney. There is something wrong there, folks. During Abraham Lincoln's time, I know that's a long time ago, 130 years ago, roughly, it was an honor beyond medals and glory to serve in the United States Senate or in the House of Representatives. And there was actually only about 8 total senators and House of Representatives people that were attorneys. The rest of them were common folk like you and like me. But we've been led down the wrong path, folks. If we sit here and do nothing, we're not going to have any freedom, and it's not going to take very long. At this rate of speed and the way things are going, what's going to be the next scenario? Is it going to be another bombing somewhere? First it was a trade center bombing in New York City. Then it was middle, homegrown America killing children and innocent people on their way to work, whatnot. Elderly people in Social Security office and whatnot. How come the AARP isn't talking about the 61 older people that bit the dust in the Social Security office and the other federal government that was seeking? Some of them were in the Internal Revenue Service and other kinds of... By the way, that's another thing. The IRS, there's nothing legal about the IRS at all. By the way, do you realize, I was reading the Oregonian newspaper 10 days ago. President Clinton has authorized the U.S. Mint to print the new money. They've already printed about $3 billion of it. You travel overseas, you get this pink-looking thing with a picture of a president on it, and a similar thing that the insignia is a little off-center, done that way. On either side of this bill is a UPC stripe. No, sir. I don't believe in having the mark in my hand or in my forehead like the Bible taught me. But it's coming, folks, if we do nothing. It's coming as sure as I'm standing here telling it to you. And it's probably going to be here in less than 2 years if we do nothing. And this is I'm actually downplaying it. It could be a lot sooner. Federal government right now, with their high tech, has invented an earthquake device. I have reason to believe that the earthquake in Kobe, Japan, by the way, I'm a geologist, I know exactly what I'm talking about. There was no pulse in the pulse wave. There's supposed to be a pulse wave in any earthquake. There was none in the Kobe, Japan earthquake. None. In 1989, in and around San Francisco, there was an earthquake. There was no pulse or pulse wave. That is a Tesla device. Nikola Tesla invented it, and he did it not out of evil, but he was trying to make a device that could be accurately used for construction and building of buildings and that kind of thing. It's been taken for evil, though, guaranteed. I want you to know that the black budget programs throughout these United States have subverted science as we know it. What's AIDS, for instance? I'll tell you what AIDS is. AIDS was invented by the National Ordnance Laboratory in Chicago, Illinois in 1972. It was a biological weapon to use against the people of these United States. The reason I know this, I have seen the documentation by the Office of Strategic Services, which by the way is still in operation to this day, through the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta, Georgia. They used the glandular excretions of animals as well as humans as well as outer space aliens. I'll tell you something about these outer space aliens. They're mortal. They can be shot dead just like you and I can, but I'll tell you one thing. They're bad news in the worst order. We have absolutely no defense against their germs. None. They're a biological weapon of terrible consequence. I advocate that every alien on this planet, good or bad, if they're good or bad, they have to be isolated. They are a biological weapon. Saddam Hussein and other people have killed 3.5 million Kurdish people with a similar biological weapon. Do we, the people of this planet, deserve this? No, we don't. But we're not doing anything about it. And every moment that we waste, every moment that we don't blurt out and we say we've had enough, that we deserve better, that we're going to get better, we're doing other people in this planet, in different countries, a great disservice. Right now I'm dying of cancer related to work that I did for the federal government. I might live 6 months, I might not. I don't know. I'll tell you one thing. If I keep speaking out the way I am, maybe God will give me the life to talk my head off. I will break every law that it takes to talk my head off. I love my country and its people more than my life. 11 of my best friends in the last 22 years have been murdered. 8 of them called suicide. I finally got wind of one of them. Portland police is now involved in one of them. Not going to mention names. Before a grand jury, including the medical examiner's office. Murder by suicide, they call it. My friend Ronald Lee Rummel is an Air Force officer, is a Silver Star winner, is a patriot, murdered because he started speaking out about unidentified flying objects while being still employed as a member of the United States Air Force. How was he murdered? He was drugged, his jaw was broken open, a cheap pistol with filed off numbers called a Jennings J22 was shoved in his hand. Somebody pulled the trigger because they found a piece of a fingerprint or inside of a palm print on the weapon. They also found hair samples, somebody quickly putting the bullets into the clip. That man saved my life. That man had a family of 5 children. That man was a great person. There's a good chance that when I fly back to Vegas, I have to drive home. I left my car down in Vegas. I have to drive home alone. I'm scared to hell. Before I went to talk in Las Vegas, Nevada, I drove a friend of mine, a disabled friend of mine, down to Joshua Tree. And 29 Palms is next to Joshua Tree, and I went to see a dying veteran, disabled veteran friend of mine also. Kind of an acquaintance friend. I don't see him very often. Can hardly talk. He's got throat cancer from working with atomic weapons. Federal government didn't want to pay for it, so he married a nurse whose father has donated enough money to keep him alive for a little longer. Well, after seeing these 2 people, I drove up over the mountains. I had to drive around the mountains and up into them to get to Needles, California. It was followed by 2 government vans, E350 vans with G14 plates, each with a couple of occupants apiece. One had an Uzi ready, and he was loading it because I could see it through one of the windows. They zoomed by. I knew exactly what they were. I've already spoken out. I've spoken in 19 talks to present. I've probably reached 45,000 people. Well, they sped up around me. I sped up around them, took a bunch of pictures with a high-speed camera. Then they caught up to me, and it looked like they were trying to force me off the road. I have a Ford Taurus sedan. But what they don't know about that Ford Taurus sedan, it's got a police interceptor motor. It's got an 8-liter motor. It'll do 140 in the shade. So I got up above them, and then I come to a screeching halt right in the middle of the road. And the road was just wide enough for my car and maybe a foot on either side. There was a deep ravine on to the left. There was a shallow ravine about 9 or 10, I'd guess roughly 9 feet deep, 10 feet deep, something like that. On the other side. One of them skidded over, rolled over in the right ditch. One went over to the left ditch and rolled all the way down. I could hear a bunch of cries for help and crackling and glass, and finally I didn't hear anything. Is this what it's going to take? 2 weeks ago, I had a man come to my Wilsonville apartment, going to arrest me. By the way, I have a Rhyolite 38 clearance. I don't know if you know what that means. I only report to 3 individuals with that clearance. President of the United States, head of the CIA, and or a base commander. No one else. This man came to arrest me. He called the sheriff. Said, I can't open the door to you. Open the door or we'll beat it in. I said, if you beat it in, you're at risk of your life. Are you threatening me? Yes, sir, I'm threatening you. I'm going to call the sheriff right now and have you removed. You're threatening my life. Called the sheriff. Sheriff came, Clackamas County Sheriff car came, pulled right behind him. I know this man very well. I would trust him with my life after what he did. He risked his job. He risked a 22-year career with the police department. He went right behind this guy, prevented him from getting out. He threw a bullhorn. He says, you are under arrest. Please come with me. I'll escort you out. He was escorted out in handcuffs to his disgrace. Sheriffs have a lot of power in this country. They can arrest FBI, CIA, DIA, and the like. It's a very good thing. If it was, I wouldn't be here talking to you. Now, I want to end this talk by mentioning we all know what the Patriot Movement stands for. Every one of us loves America. Most of us love America more than our life. Most of us are willing to defend it as we have defended it before. And we'll defend it again and again and again for how many times it takes until we get the objective done. I would like to believe I'm a patriot. I'm no longer employed by the federal government. I took a pair of scissors and cut up my security card, and I mailed it back to the SOBs, pardon my French. I wrote a detailed letter and said, my life is threatened in any way, shape, or form. I did this. It's already been threatened. I will consider downloading 140,000 pages of information sensitive to the New World Order, Strategic Defense Initiative, and what it really stands for, and the federal government structure as a whole. I've already begun to do this through the Infonet and the Internet worldwide. I spent $78,000 getting these kind of pictures away from the federal government after my father willed them to me in his will. There all they are, a piece of paper with a few revealing notes on them. Incidentally, Val Thor is this particular character right here. Right here. He hasn't changed a bit in 58 years, thereabouts. I have over 7,000 pictures. I have detailed files and writings I have alien artifacts and metals. You're only looking at half a dozen of maybe 7,000 that I have. I feel you people have to know the truth as best as I could tell it. Thank you very much. By the way, I might want to mention, if you want to look at these artifacts, try not to handle them, just look at them. And,
Questions, Phil?
yeah. Thank you.
You indicated that you were injured in shooting a critter.
Right.
Would you mind explaining to us your injury?
I'll be glad to. Sorry, women folk, this is kind of gory.
What did you say it was that hit you?
Okay. My legs are worse. It was some form of ray weapon that had a high dose of stinking radiation called cobalt, or dirty bomb radiation. I remember the color of the beam. It was a light green, kind of like a light emerald green. Question?
You know much about the reverse phase wave?
No, I do not. Question?
Have you heard the civilian federal transfer center being built in Oklahoma, Louisiana, and I think Michigan?
Yes, and I can tell you that there are 50 of them. There's one in every state.
Can you describe what their purpose is?
Purposes, they are prison camps. Will make Nazi Germany look like a kid's toy. They're very large. As big as they are above ground, they are a minimum of 3 levels below ground. Have you ever heard of Goose Lake, for instance? Goose Lake is a prison. It's a supposed model prison run by Wackenhut. Wackenhut is Fourth Reich Nazi German. They run this entire police state operation in Southern California. It is a low-yield, deep underground military base. It's not military. Wackenhut base, basically. It's buried about 500 feet underground. It is a long runway underground. It's about 3 miles long. It's got 2,700 prison cells in it. There's a track on either side of it. Food and shower facilities are all on, they're kind of like individual cars on tracks, and they service each prisoner. You got to change your clothes once a week. You got to shower once a week. No television, no nothing. Totally underground. Minimum lighting facilities. If you talk, you are beaten senselessly. 2,700 federal prisoners are in it right now. The worst of the worst. I don't know about you, folks. I learned an old song in church. The vilest offender who truly believes a pardon in Jesus is quickly received. I don't believe we or anybody else in these United States has the right to torture anybody. I don't care if they're a murderer, a rapist, or anything else. We should basically get rid of these kind of individuals. But if we do have the guts and maybe a little bit of fortitude to kind of hope that, well, I don't want murder on my hands, and we imprison them, I don't believe this is the way. Question?
A comment. It appears that we're way past the 2-year voting cycle to stop what's happening. Right now,
Well, like I said before, start forming cells, enclaves. I hate to say this, enclave has a peculiar nasty overtone to it. But start forming enclaves, start talking to people, talk your head off. Talk your head off because your life depends on it. I'm not asking you to do what I'm doing. I'm asking you to risk your life for these United States, like I am doing? Question over here.
You give out your internet address?
The fact that
Yes, I'll give you my address.
these beings are alien in that they come from other planets. Otherwise, we have the theory of being extraterrestrial. Have you in all your studies ever tried to determine whether or not there was an alternative answer? Rather than being extraterrestrial, are they extra-dimensional? And if so, what have you discovered and what authority can you mount to be able to show that as a possibility?
Okay, let's take one thing at a time here. Extra-dimensional, they could very easily be. Al Bielek will probably tell you about that in his talk. When we blew up the A-bomb tests, and later the A-bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and all the other tests that took place, we basically opened up a hole in time. And the reason I know this is Al Bielek told me, if you look in an early 1953 Life magazine, you'll find a picture of an A-bomb, and it was a round mushroom cloud, and through the mushroom cloud you can see black space with stars. Unfortunately, those stars don't add up to any known stars in our view. And so Al Bielek was telling me, yeah, that opened up another dimension. And Life magazine almost lost its license to print. But yeah, you're right there. Your other questions, some of which I can or cannot answer. Right now, as much information as I have, I like to say I'm a scientist, but I think that's got a kind of a bad connotation anymore. But anyway, as a scientist, I like to say that in all my studies, I have every reason to believe outer space aliens are another form, another tool, another system of technology to enslave the wonderful people of the United States of America and the world under a one-world government. And this scenario occurred in Nazi Germany and is now occurring in the United States, and it's got to go. Otherwise, we're going to go. Next question over here.
Now, what's the reason for the base? The underground?
Pretty obviously, if you take all the 129 dumb bases, right now there's actually 131 of them. Take 129 or 131 dumb bases, 10% of them, roughly 14 of them, the largest. They're all cities underground. There's high-speed railways, magneto-leviton trains that have attained Mach 2, and Al Bielek will tell you about this in his talk. He's seen them, actually been on one of them. I've seen the tunnels, I've never been on the train. He'll tell you that also that these can house great numbers of people. Well, I'll tell you exactly how many numbers of people. You could get 106 million man standing army, fully equipped with all the food, water, and provisions for 2 years underground, or however long it took to suffer out a nuclear war or whatever kind of ugly scenario. And that would be enough to defeat anybody in the United States. By the way, there's no place to hide anymore. Black helicopters, and there's so many of them. Not just black ones, I'm talking about military helicopters in general too. They have detection devices. If you got something buried like a cache of weapons or diamonds or gold or money or whatever underground, they've seen it already, guaranteed. They can detect you in an airport. I'm going to blow this one by you too, because this is a nice little tidbit. Right now, if you're carrying more than $1,000 in your pocket, most of us don't, and some of us do, carrying $1,000 or more in your pocket, you are perceived as being an enemy of the United States and or a drug dealer, and you can be arrested immediately in any airport in the United States of America. By the way, if you look at your money, your 50, 100s, 20s, 10s, 5s, whatnot, and even the ones now, you'll find there's a little thread in there. If you look at it, like on a $100 bill, it'll say 100, and it'll have a little number and 100, 100, 100, and $100 marks all the way on both sides. It's a little, kind of like a little thing that tells you that the beast is still there. We don't do anything about it, folks. The beast is going to claim us. Every one of us. Okay, question? Any more? Okay. Okay, the underground prisoners right now, they're using the worst of the federal prisoners and the worst of, yeah, criminals. That's correct. And that's pretty obvious. You add up if you add up 143 per car, multiplied by 107,200, multiplied by 11 general contractors, each with a similar contract, you're going to come up with a figure that exceeds 15 million. 15 million is the number of patriots in America, number of concerned people in America, and also a number of people that could cause the federal government harm in America today, right now.
And my second part is, are you saying that aliens are just
I'm saying our federal government blew up Oklahoma without question. Clearly proven. First of all, what did it? If you look in the pictures of the explosion, you'll find there's a large block taken out near the elevator shaft, and there's a smaller explosion. By the way, a nitrate explosive has a maximum capacity of 20 kips worth of pressure per square inch. A kip is kilotons of pressure, 1,000 tons. So 20,000 tons of pressure per square inch, maximum. If you had the whole truck totally packed. Wow. By the way, the federal building in Oklahoma City had some pretty strong girders in it. Girders and pillars and stuff like that. The average federal building, especially a new one like this one, has a tensile strength of 200,000 kips. The only thing that tear it apart like that is either a nuclear weapon or a thermite charge, shape charge explosive. Right now, the only thermite charge explosives in these United States are military operated, and they're housed at Mather Air Force Base in California, near Sacramento. Yes?
I heard there were 2 explosions still, 8 seconds apart.
I wasn't really aware of that, but if there were 2 explosions, I would assume that one was either a reverberant explosion or it was an atmospheric explosion.
It's on the seismograph at the university. It wasn't an echo.
I'd have to look at it.
It's on the back of the sheet I just handed you.
Really?
Yeah, right there.
Okay. And this is the second explosion, is that correct?
Right, they're both on there. Right together.
Mm-hmm. Well, the truck bomb shows an explosion, once again, with no P wave, but it has a scalar wave to it. Could have been a scalar weapon, electromagnetic weapon of some sort. The train explosion, once again, also has it does have a P wave, but doesn't have an N wave. Therefore, it too must be a device.
No, that's the train that's going by the university.
Oh, it is, okay.
It's going kind of by the
All right.
I heard the director being interviewed, and he said the same thing. There were 2 explosions, and they asked him if it could have been inside, and he said...
Well, this one here that says truck bomb.
No, that's not the bomb. That's a truck driving by the university.
No, this, okay. It says, truck and bomb, I see, okay. The 2 that are marked bomb, once again, have the configuration. It's called the squared sine wave configuration, or Crazy Ivan, as the Navy calls it. Squared sine wave with no P wave, it would have to be a mechanical device, without question. I could prove that, but it'd be kind of boring laying the figures out. Okay, another question? Yes, ma'am.
How do you respond to Christians who are apathetic about saying it's all prophesied in the Bible anyway, the New World Order, the mark of the beast, and, you know, I want Jesus to come anyway, so, you know, why fight it? Well, how do you respond to that?
Prudence. What you know best to be. Pray about it. Prayer. That's the only prudence around worth saving. Next.
This lady here, please.
Okay.
Is it true, you know, if you're using a balance that's got over 49 so that behind just have colonies on
It's quite a possibility because, for instance, the New World Order and the elite, as we call it, built and funded Hubble telescope. Remember also that telescope, the one that orbited Mars, was supposedly shut down. That was another lie, total lie. Took detailed photographs, totally mapped the planet. I've seen some of the photographs. The face on Mars is a reality. There, at one time there was a civilization. That's been proven. Computer enhancement photograph, and it was broken down by a supercomputer and proved it to be a intelligent made device rather than a hunk of rock with a funny shadow on it that NASA told us, another lie. Once again, you have to remember it. These people cannot tell the truth. In days past, they were called the sons of Belial, the ones that could not tell the truth. We have to consider them our enemy. Next, this fellow. Yes, they do have bases on Mars.
Have you heard of that possibly these rays are part of the experiments which our government are doing under base of taking the synthetics and all these creatures that perhaps they're manufacturing?
No, sir. I can tell you right now that's not so. They have a copper oxide for a blood, similar to an octopus, a cephalopod, or an insect, or a spider. Another thing is their chromosomal structure is totally different. Their cellular structure is totally different. No, sir, that's not true at all.
Are there any good aliens up there? Some people think that perhaps...
Probably so. There's supposedly a group from that I've heard from different sources, fairly accurate sources at that some of them came from the Pleiades, but right now they're supposedly having an all-out war with the Greys, and they had to leave us, and they left us anywhere from a couple of years ago to 4 years ago. I haven't really studied that in. I've been talking about other things lately, so...
Some people think they're here to rescue us if that whole thing blows up.
Don't count on it. Question?
Can you give out your internet address for the access information in downloading?
No, sir, I cannot do that. You'll have to go through the internet and do it yourself. That would be giving myself away to the beast, and I can't do that. Question?
Is it possible that this gentleman here in front here made a statement regarding attitude of a lot of people who are Christians? Is it possible that you are taking a study called eschatology, end time phenomena, prophesied by Daniel, prophesied by Isaiah, subject to the Olivet Discourse, subject to the book of Revelation? It does talk about kind of things that are going to come to judgment on the earth for Israel, the Antichrist, and those who are believers. Is it possible? These things will probably come to truth, come to pass. But to use eschatology as a weapon of fear in order to get the people to act is not what the scriptures talk about.
That's correct. That's correct. You can't do it that way.
The fact of the matter is that in Christ we have liberty from those kinds of things which are going to befall the earth, because there's no condemnation for those who are in Christ. So it says. But to try to say that we are people who are subject to this condemnation is not a full understanding of eschatology.
I would agree with your statement. There is one thing, though. I love America. I'm only one person. I'm only human. I can make mistakes. I'm not perfect. God is perfect, as much as I know. I will say one thing, though. Keep reading the Bible. It'll just make your heart pure and good. It'll also improve your prudence, and improve your state of mind overall.
Would it be more profitable to get further into Christ and get further into ourselves?
And let the world and all the good people in this country go to waste? No, sir, I cannot believe that, nor will I possibly ascribe to that in any way, shape, or form. Christ did not put us on this earth to die in a holocaust of fear from characteristic evil entities or people. No, sir, I cannot believe with that particular statement. I love Christ, but unfortunately I cannot believe that I can allow my fellow countrymen to go by the wayside. And I think actually it's a form of disinformation and government propaganda to believe it. Next. Yeah. Okay.
Comment. The Idaho Constitution has a provision for the militia. All able-bodied men between 18 and 45 years old will serve in the militia. That's in the Idaho Constitution.
Okay, I agree with it. In fact, I would extend it from the years of 18 years old to maybe your age, 70 or 75. I'm willing to do it. I'm past the age of 45. Sorry, I don't believe in age limits. If I live to be 100, I'd like to do it. Yes, sir.
I'd like to give you a quotation from the Bible, Christ talking. It is Luke 19:27, and it says, "Bring those my people who do not want me to rule over them before me and slay them." And I always ask the people, does that mean love them to death? But the preachers don't preach it. And there's other quotations like that.
Yes, I've read such quotations. If I'm wrong, I will stand slain by God. Stand convicted. Maybe I have already been convicted. Yes, sir.
You tell us where the prison is in Idaho?
Near Coeur d'Alene.
What was that question?
Would you state the question again?
Where is the federal prison that you're talking about in Idaho?
Well, there's several federal prisons. There's a new one being built near Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I don't know. I've never been out there, but I heard it's on the east side of the town of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Whatever. Man with a red shirt way in the back there. I don't. And I haven't heard about such things, but I'm sure there might be such things. There are things that were used against the Afghan people. There were things that looked like innocuous toys, and there were high explosives that killed a lot of people. You can bet your bottom dollar that this is some form of a setup of American people's rights, without question. Yes, I believe that too. The U.S. Navy presently spends about 1/16 of the entire black budget allocated to them on psychological programming techniques through the RAND Corporation. Next question. This lady. Okay. I can only take one more question, so this way.
The ones that, were victims of these bombings, who did it? I don't really want to know.
I personally don't know the name of the person who did it, but...
it takes the government and let them start getting this other side of it. And
well, This is a difficult task, ma'am. The best thing that can be done, yes, I would say yes, that is true. We can get the word out. But it's better to get in groups of people and tell your friends the best that you know how to say it. And go from there. But other than that, yes, that would be the best thing. Right. Well, unfortunately, I'd like to say, yeah, go ahead, write everybody until the cows come home. But right now, as the way things are going, that might not be your best bet. You might be targeted as an extremist or something like that. Okay, last question. This is the last one.
Are you going to be speaking in this area again?
I'll be more than happy to speak to any area at any time. Thank you. May God bless each and every one of you and your families, too.